Good evening, race fans, and welcome to the CiL GT3 Challenge here at WeatherTech Raceway at Laguna Seca. I'm Matthew Nordberg. Joining me up here in the booth for tonight's race is Christian Hill. We're looking at a fantastic race tonight. Just absolutely spectacular weather here out in Monterey, California. Current weather sitting at 70 degrees Fahrenheit with 58% humidity, cloudy with 7-mile-per-hour winds. Track temp sitting at a pretty brisk, pretty warm 95 degrees Fahrenheit. 2.22-mile track around here at WeatherTech Raceway at Laguna Seca. Christian, what are you looking forward to in tonight's race?
That's a good. I'm just looking forward into just a clean, nice race. There's nothing really I'm looking forward to in general. I mean, this is a great track to go on, a pretty decent temperature-wise in the track. So, I'm just kind of looking for, maybe even a bit of an upset. I mean, we're seeing a bit of a nice smooth kind of entrance here into the GT3 season. So maybe a bit of an upset might kind of spice things up a little. Let's see see if we can get that.
Yeah, absolutely, Christian. I think we're in for a fantastic race tonight. For those of you who are new to the CIL, we do race two unique classes. We have the alumni class, which we are following on board with now as they begin their qualifying session. The alumni class is notified with the 3-digit numbers, as we see Jeremy Miller in here, the alumni in the 169 machine from Purdue. He also has the red decals on his car, so you can see that on the windshield as well as the mirrors and wing. For the student class qualifying, which will get underway here in about 3 or 4 minutes or so, those cars have 2-digit numbers with blue decals that signify the difference between the alumni and the student class, and those classes are scored separately.
Yeah, it can create quite a difference in the race. Although they are kind of qualified differently, they are awarded points differently and everything. They still race each other during the race. Now they may not race each other as hard as another student, student v student or alumni v alumni. But alumni versus a student, they're still going to race each other. They're still race car drivers, and they're still there to fight. They're still there to have fun. They're still there to win. So they still want to have that overall title of kind of having that position no matter who's there. So although they might be in different classes, they're still going to fight pretty tooth and nail to get any position they can.
Yeah, that's right, Christian. We've seen it multiple times throughout the years. These drivers do not give any quarter to one another, whether on the student or in the alumni class. If you look at Tony Coroner here out of Michigan Tech, the alumni in the 666 car, that Porsche. Another rule for some of you newcomers to the CIL who might not be familiar. In the CIL, obviously, we run multiple races over the course of the season, and in GT3, we do have that balance of performance that comes into play between some of these cars. So, at the start of the season and the first race each driver decides to participate in, those drivers are going to pick their car. So let's take Tony here. He chose the Porsche 911 for the first race of the season, and you are stuck to that car for the rest of the season. And if you do decide to switch cars, go from the Porsche to the Audi or the Porsche to the BMW or whatever it is, you will incur an end-of-line penalty for the first of 2 races of each event.
Yeah, and that end-of-line penalty can really hurt depending on what track we're at. Laguna Seca, not the hardest place to pass, but definitely not easy to pass either. If you were here for Formula C last night, you were able to see that on multiple different cars going around the track, that it's just a difficult track to pass on. So qualifying position here does matter. It is not as important as some other places like Lime Rock or some other tracks, but it is a very still important place here to qualify well, because passing here is not always the easiest. So you want to get a good qualifying position so you can kind of just start your way off and work your way through the pack a little bit, while cars kind of maybe have a little incident here or there. But you definitely want to have a good starting position.
Yeah, absolutely. As we continue to look through our field right now, currently sitting at the top of the timing boards for the alumni class, this is Alexander Klink. Current pole position time of a 120.51. As you see him have a bit of an adventure through the corkscrew there. I think that leads us well into just talking about how great this track is as Alexander Klink continues to top the more drivers set their times. But Laguna Seca is such an iconic racetrack, especially in American motorsport. I think somebody mentioned earlier today, it's just an icon of not only American motorsport, but motorsports simulations and games in general. I think pretty much every game or simulation you can think of has Laguna Seca packed with it in some way or form. And I think, the racing on this track speaks to it. You have iconic corners such as the Andretti hairpin and the corkscrew. And I think the lack of runoff, all this dirt on the outside, makes it really difficult for drivers to push the limits without getting the penalty for pushing too far.
Oh yeah, it's a really interesting track, very dynamic track in general. Also, yeah, as you said, a very kind of just well-known track and iconic track in the community in general. But you're right. This is also a track though that a lot of people tend to learn racing on, which is kind of interesting because at the same time, if you're pushing yourself, if you're trying to push this track to the limits, it becomes a very unforgiving track because if you even dip just a tire into the sand or into the dirt, you're gonna. Oh, now he was able to save it there, but a lot of times you might just dip a rear tire and then you're gonna spin up, you're gonna spin out, and it's pretty easy to spin out here, especially as we go through right here. That hairpin is he doesn't actually make it over the track, but instead goes through the dirt. Still able to hold on to it, which is pretty impressive. That's not an easy place to hold your car together if you go off track. But yeah, definitely not a forgiving track if you try to push it to its limits, which all of these drivers are here are trying to do that tonight.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think you see some of these drivers coming around the track now. We do have drivers who are student drivers who are beginning their lap times now. We're looking at Jacob Cummings from Wingate University, that 95 Ferrari. Pretty quick in previous races. He did have some speed up there fighting for podium positions. For those of you who aren't aware, this qualifying is one session. First 10 minutes are reserved for alumni. Second 10 minutes are reserved for students. So, still about 10 minutes left in this qualifying session as we see some of the students start to take to the track now.
Yeah, just as the students take to the track, the alumni are coming off the track. So we have our alumni set for qualifying. Now it just depends on where the students can come out of the woodwork and take away those places from the alumni. So far we have alumni. We have Alexander Klenk, Nicholas Daly, Jeremy Miller, and Josh Crane, and I'm not
Tony
sure
Corner.
who. Okay, there we go. Okay.
Yeah, those are our top 5 for the alumni qualifying. There is no split between the alumni and the students on the starting grid, unlike what you might see from, say, prototypes and GT cars in like IMSA or WEC endurance racing. These guys and gals will be starting all mixed up, no matter what class they are in. It just matters how fast their qualifying times are. Speaking of qualifying times, it looks like we have our first student times coming across the board now. Ard Muhammad Alif out of Ball State University crosses the line with a 120.248. That's about 0.2 quicker than Alexander Klenk was able to do earlier.
Some alumni. We have Josh Crane, who is placed currently, I think, is 6th, if I'm not mistaken, on the leaderboard. Josh is not a normal person to race these kind of races, but Josh is one of the administrators, actually one of the founding administrators of the CiL League. We have him to kind of thank for all of this kind of being here and what it is tonight, and on so. But we don't see him, so it's definitely a treat to see him racing tonight. I'm very excited to see what he can kind of lay down in terms of positions and racing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really one of the beauties of the CiL is the alumni and student split. As while they might not be racing for points against each other during the race, they're still racing each other and having to deal with that, much like a pro and a pro-am split, and something you might see in GT racing or Porsche Carrera Cup racing. Sometimes, the points are separated at the end of the race, but during the race, there's no holds barred. It's drivers going after it lap after lap. As we look a bit further down the field right now, looks like Cone Evans jumps up into 3rd position with a 121.163. Good lap time there from the IUP. Going off the track there caught me off guard. I wasn't ready for it. Good lap from the IUPUI machine there as he decides to meet Barry R at the exit of turn 1.
Yep, as we're just going to take a look at Kyle Davidson here. Excuse me, that was Cale Davidson. Apologies, Cale. As we take a look at him going through his lap currently. All right, so we're going to come up on this left-hander. This is a pretty fast left-hander. You can take that pretty nicely, usually in 4th gear throughout there. Going to take that up here. This is a tricky turn here as it dips down into the left-hander. You can get caught pretty easily if you hit that sausage curve. You're able to take that off to the right. And now we head up towards the infamous corkscrew. Hopefully you're getting the perfect braking point. You don't want to overshoot it, but you don't want to undershoot it. Getting that nice right-hander, not going over the dirt. Perfect throughout that corkscrew. Take a nice long left-hander here as we go into another dip, a bit of a dip. Kind of not as serious if you mess up here. You can still, you hit that sausage curve, you can definitely go out wide, going through the pits a bit. And then this is a very, very difficult turn to take right here. If you don't hit everything perfectly, you're going to have a very, very slow front pit straight.
Yeah, it's a great run through the lap there, Christian. And I think we definitely saw how treacherous some of these corners can be, especially the corkscrew. You saw CiL going through that corner, and as you crest over the first left-hander in the corkscrew, the car gets super light. It's so easy to spin at the tires on the gravel and dirt there, and even just going down the hill, you gain so many revs. It's very easy to potentially hit the limiter, lose a little bit of speed out of the corner if you're not careful. But CiL did a great job getting it through the corkscrew, but unfortunately just hit a sausage curb a couple corners later. Sent them off the track, and that kind of ruined their lap. Maybe gave them a little bit of front end damage there. It looks like that front splitter might be a little pushed in right now, but currently CiL's still sitting in P5 as they pull off the track. If you look further back in the field, Thomas Crump out of Clemson University in that BMW, that 16 machine, is currently sitting in 10th. One thing I think you will note is that there are some schools who have a pretty heavy representation here in the CIL. Really, St. Clair College, Clemson University, as well as Ball State University, all have programs that really support one another and act, as a true team rather than just a group of individuals representing the same university. They'll work on setups together. They will work on strategies and the best way to get around the racetrack, braking points and whatnot. So CIL is not just a group of individuals. We do have teams competing for college championships over the course of the season right now. So there's a lot of school pride to be put on for these drivers here tonight.
Yeah, and some of these schools, such as Ball State and St. Clair College, I know they have scholarships on the line. Some of these drivers are driving for a scholarship. They're driving for kind of their ride into school, so that it means a lot to them to kind of these finishing positions, these points, and helping out their other teammates and fellow teammates. And kind of based on that, they also have, some of them have team orders. So we've seen in the past where we've had teams kind of use one another for blocking a bit to protect one of the drivers to see if they can kind of have a higher finishing position, or maybe a bit of a draft throughout the track for qualifying, or just in general during the race. So teams have a large play here on these different all these different tracks and courses.
Yeah, Coach, that's definitely going to be a factor tonight at Laguna Seca. As you see Justin Friedrich there from Minnesota State send the rear end around a little bit more than he wanted to as he spins in turn 5 there. Super easy to do there, especially if you don't have a very stable rear end in that corner. Especially those front engine cars sometimes can get a little bit understeery, a little heavier on the front end, so it can be difficult to get the car rotated as they would like. But qualifying session still has about 3 minutes to go. Our Muhammad Ali at the top of your leaderboard right now with a best lap time of a 119.98. Last lap time around was his best. He's the only driver right now into the 119, but Jordan Johnson, about 4.5 tenths behind him, is trying to give chase and see what he can do to see if he can top the leaderboard in qualifying tonight.
119 is a flying lap. That's obscene that someone can even comprehend that time. That you're able to put that time up. I mean, a sub 120 is, astronomically fast. So that's a very impressive lap from our Muhammad Ali, and I'm excited to see how he can kind of extend that throughout the next 2 races coming up. But as we look through the car manufacturers here, I don't see any prominent manufacturer throughout the series or the race here tonight. I would say Porsche kind of has the upper hand a little bit, but nothing kind of crazy as we saw before, where we've had a large amount of Mercedes or maybe a large amount of Porsches. Everything's kind of even, I'd say, just with a hair of Porsches kind of extra. But other than that, there's not really any kind of over dominating manufacturer here tonight. We do have one McLaren and two Ferraris, excuse me, but we do have a McLaren here tonight, which is a rare car to see around here. But I'm definitely excited to see what these drivers can do.
Yeah, another thing you mentioned, only one driver in the Audi, Alexander Klenk, currently sitting in the third position. The Audi is...
All right. Yeah.
I feel like the Audi's always been a little bit underrated because it's been a bit known as a bit of a beast to control at times, but I feel like in the right hand, the Audi is really almost BOP independent, just how good it is at some tracks. You know, it doesn't matter. It tends to fall on the higher end of the threshold or the spectrum for speed in these GT3 cars. I've never had a problem with it being my preferred car in iRacing when I go GT3 racing, but Jordan Johnson right now in that Porsche is definitely making it look easy as someone spins in front of him, someone in another Porsche, but Jordan Johnson's trying to set a best lap time here to see if he can get on top of the leaderboard here. Jordan Johnson and R. Muhammad Ali have been battling it out all season. These two have been topping the leaderboards from GT3 to Formula C, so I expect to see some good racing at the front of the field tonight for sure, and I don't think anybody's going to be running away with this one.
Yeah, I mean, Jordan Johnson's an exceptional driver. You see him kind of in the top of the leaderboards for GT3 at Formula C, kind of any race he does. And I'm not shocked he's currently holding second position right now. As he actually takes first with a 1:19.85, another flying lap for Jordan Johnson, overtaking Muhammad Ali. Currently has pole position. What a lap! Great lap for Jordan Johnson. Excited to see these kind of battles, and yeah, we don't really have anyone kind of flying away with this. We're not seeing any Sean Campbells this season. Not to use his name like negatively, but I mean, Sean Campbell, an exceptional driver, absolutely amazing. All the respect to him, but he would fly away with the race every time. So maybe make a bit of a boring race, but other than that, I mean, now we have some really good kind of competition going on here with Jordan Johnson, Alif. I mean, Alexander Klenk was not far off, along with Connor Fisk and Cale Davidson. Speaking of those five, let's kind of run through our grid here, starting with, again, our pole position, who was able to snag it in the very last bit, Jordan Johnson. Next with R. Muhammad Alif, followed by third and Alexander Klenk. Connor Fisk rounding out the second row. Cale Davidson starting the third row, followed by Jacob Cummins. Cohen Evans in 7th place, followed by Nicholas Daly. Starting 9th place, we have Daniel Hunter. And rounding out your top 10 is Justin Friedrich. Position 11th is Jeremy Millerin, followed by our very own Joshua Crane, rounding up our top 12.
Sitting in 13th spot, Thomas Crump out of Clemson University has Jonathan Webb from UNC Charlotte on his outside in 14th. Zachary DeWale out of St. Clair College, and Edwin Onofre round out your 15th and 16th spots from St. Clair College and University of North Texas, respectively. Tyler Stone, another St. Clair College, in 17th, and Tony Coroner out of Michigan Tech, the alumni, running the 666 machine in 18th. Athena Leclerc, another St. Clair College, 3 St. Clair Colleges in a row on the outside through 15th through 19th. Austin DeLong rounds out your top 20 with Blake Ellison out of Averett in 21st. Alexander Hogarth from St. Clair College in 22nd, and Kyle Bonin and Nicholas Patinella round out your back row, both of them alumni from Clemson and Robert Morris, respectively. It's going to be a good race, Christian, as we see the cars gridding up now. Let's see if we had a few other people who didn't qualify. Apologies. Andrew Williams from Clemson, 25th, and then Ricky Pats from Valparaiso in 26th. So that
I don't believe Andrew Williams is racing tonight, is he? I don't think he
might be our steward.
Yes,
Steward in a car.
I think Andrew...
He's like the police. Yeah. He's in a car. If you punch someone when you're getting pulled over. Yeah.
He's going to punch you back.
Yeah, exactly. What goes around comes around, as we hear some engines starting to get revved as the gridding procedure is all done. These cars are going to be underway here momentarily as the pace car pulls away. And Jordan Johnson, our pole position winner, is going to lead the field to green here tonight.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see this, and we have our little formation lap here. Now, I do have a question for you. What is your opinion on our formation lap versus a standing start. I know in Formula C we have a standing start. Here we have a formation lap. What is your preferred method of starting a race? Do you like this whole formation lap, or do you just prefer a standing start?
Well, I mean, in GT3 cars, it's a bit difficult to run a standing start, but I do love a good standing start. I think it really gives another opportunity for drivers to show off some of their skills, and if you don't practice those standing starts, it's super difficult to hold your position off the line. But with a rolling start, it's a bit easier, a bit more straightforward for drivers to hold on to their positions off the start of the race. And it's a bit harder to overtake, really, just because, especially the leader, you know, in the oval series, you have the restart zone, so you do have a bit of an idea where the driver might decide to put the foot down on the loud pedal. But really, in the roadside, you don't know when they're going to go. They have their discretion, so it's a bit harder to stay closer together in this rolling start.
Yeah, I 100% prefer always a standing start. I just think it's a better racing experience, in my opinion. Also with anyone who is, racing and iRacing, they also know that formation laps tend to be kind of a place for possible kind of incidents and crashes, because people just are kind of maybe messing around because they're a little bored or something. I'm not really sure, but I definitely do prefer a good standing start. I just think it makes everything just a bit more exciting, a bit more entertaining with how everything happens.
Yeah, absolutely. As the pace car comes up through the penultimate corner here, we're getting ready to go green here at Laguna Seca for race 1 of the evening. Jordan Johnson from Kent State University, our pole position winner. To his outside are Muhammad Ali, from behind him, Alexander Klink and Connor Fisk will be looking to make up positions at the start as Jordan Johnson comes around the final corner now. He's on the gas early, straight out of the corner. Jordan Johnson with a great start through the last turn of the track, as we are green here at Laguna Seca now. Our Muhammad Ali giving chase behind right now, but behind them it looks to be single file, as our Muhammad Ali can't quite get there into turn 1. He's going to have to sit tight in second position as cars go 2 by 2 behind them.
Yeah, as the cars come down through turn 1, as they're going past turn 1, they're staying pretty clean, pretty nice. That's always a position.
We got contact at the front. Jordan Johnson and our Muhammad Ali make contact going into turn 3. Unfortunate start for our pole position holder. It looks like they were going side by side and couldn't quite keep it out of the wall, or couldn't quite keep it out of each other, I should say. Both of them out of the wall right now, and they continue on. But drama at the start here in turn 3, as our Muhammad Ali and Jordan Johnson make contact up at the front of the field. Our current leader is now Alexander Klink. Klink was our third position starter. We're going to get a replay of the crash between our Muhammad Ali and Jordan Johnson momentarily here.
Wow, I'm absolutely shocked that that happened. I mean, they're two great drivers. I mean, accidents happen. I know that things happen all the time, but wow, just literally first lap coming around that second corner, you have them touch. You have them touching. I was not expecting that, but I mean, our Muhammad Ali was really pushing hard on Alexander Klink, Jordan Johnson there. So not shocked, but also at the same time, I mean, what a amazing kind of upset there. I was hoping for an upset. I got my upset. Here it is, as we have Alexander Klink take that second lap, not finish, take that second lap, heading into the turn 1 again.
Yeah, it looks like we're getting a replay here of the contact between our Muhammad Ali and Jordan Johnson. Looks like Ali had a great exit out of the Andretti hairpin there, and Jordan Johnson was a bit wide, and these two just come up into turn 3, and it looks like 2 cars into 1 just does not go. I think Ali thought he had a bit more room to turn in, but that's a tough one. I think that's just 2 guys going at it really hard in turn 3 on the first lap, and they end up making contact with each other.
Yeah, that's definitely a shame, and I think that was I would put that down as a race incident. So, yeah, it looked like they kind of turned into each other. One thought it was turning, one thought it wasn't. I'm not really sure, but I mean, yeah, our Muhammad Ali getting a really good launch off of turn 1 into turn 2. So it's definitely a shame, but we'll see them back up. No worries there. They'll come back up to it. Jordan Johnson is in the pits, whereas our Muhammad Ali, I don't believe is. I think he's still racing along.
Yeah, we're looking at our Muhammad Ali right now, trying to make his way back.
Oh, I see.
To the field.
That's what I
can
see.
Currently just made a move on Jeremy Miller and into the corkscrew for that 9th position right now. He's going to be charging to the field. I don't know if Jordan Johnson has damage or if he's been assessed a penalty by race control. We might have to double check with that one, but yeah, I mean, I'm fairly certain that was a racing incident. I don't think there would be a penalty assessed there, as Alexander Klink sets the fastest lap of this race up at the front, the 121 flat pretty much. But yeah, I think it's definitely tough for someone like our Muhammad Ali, who had a poor first race of the season at Long Beach, He definitely has points on his mind, but it's difficult. You know, you feel like if you're always fighting from a hole, then you're never going to get out of that hole if you're making mistakes or if you're getting into incidents that may or may not be of its own fault. But either way, Leaf is going to have a lot of ground to make up here in race 1 tonight.
Just checking back, Jordan Johnson was actually involved in another incident with going into the corkscrew. Driver took wide, going through the corkscrew, just trying to avoid an incident, I believe, and instead kind of drove through the corkscrew into Jordan Johnson and another driver, and giving him, I guess, irreparable damage as he's still in the pits. So I believe that I don't know if it's the end of Jordan Johnson's night, or at least race 1, but he's definitely not going to have a good finishing position, I can tell you that.
Yeah, we see Leaf gaining another position up in 8th after the car in front of him, Justin Friedrich, went off the track in turn 6. But yeah, we'll see what happens throughout the rest of this field here tonight as the cars spread out a little bit now as they get into the rhythm of this race. 25-minute races here in the CIL, and for those of you new to the CIL, we do have 2 races each night. The first race is obviously set by the qualifying you saw earlier, but the second race of the evening is determined by reversing the top 12 finishers of race 1. So the driver who finishes race 1 in 12th will be your race 2 pole position holder. Both races pay out equal points, and they also are the same length. So these drivers, if they have a poor race 1 or they have terminal damage, just as Jordan Johnson has, there will be an opportunity for them to make up more points in the race 2.
Yeah, and I really do enjoy that about this kind of system that we have going here. We've switched to this a couple seasons, probably season, I think it was season 3 or season 4. We switched to this setup, and I personally, I was kind of against it at first. It didn't seem like it was kind of natural feeling to me, but the more and more it goes on, I feel like it does give the drivers just another chance in case one of their races gets screwed up, maybe by another driver, or even themselves. You know, if they just have a bad race 1, they always have race 2 to kind of lean on, or vice versa. If they have a bad race, race 2, they can always lean on what they did in race 1. So I do think it kind of gives a bit of a buffer to some of these drivers, as you know, none of us are, we're all still kind of amateurs at this, in terms of some actual, some racing drivers, but we're all just kind of here to have fun and kind of have a good time. So I'm glad that can happen. As we see Alexander Klenk in first right now, who has set the fastest lap time of the race so far with 1:20.93, the only 1:20 currently in the race at the moment, as we see him going around turn 3 at the moment. As you can see, Zachary Dubois kind of chasing down Thomas Crump and Jeremy Miller in front of him, trying to see if he can get a pass, but first he has to get through Thomas Crump. Not an easy person to get through. Did have a rough time yesterday in Formula C, but he's definitely looking forward to having a nicer race today.
Yeah, absolutely. We see a big gaggle of cars here, led by Jeremy Miller and Thomas Crump and Zachary Dubois following behind him. And Guido Nafre and Kyle Bonnet round out your caboose of this train, and these guys have been nose to tail for a few laps now. This is really the closest battle on track. It's almost like you've got a bit of a DRS train going. As we see, it looks like Thomas Crump is going to be trying to make a move on Jeremy Millerin up here, going on the outside of the corkscrew almost. He gets it done under braking, and Millerin almost gets into the back of Thomas Crump. Really close there between those 2 BMW cars, but Thomas Crump incredibly brave on the brakes, or maybe Millerin a bit cautious, just trying not to spin himself out and just keep racing for another lap.
Great drive between both Thomas Crump and Jeremy Miller, and I mean a beautiful pass from Thomas Crump on to Jeremy Miller and into the corkscrew. Definitely a very nervous place to pass, in my opinion, of all the places to pass on the course. Going into the hairpin or the corkscrew, is one of the more rough places to pass. But if you know what you're doing, a lot of drivers are kind of, I wouldn't say scared, but definitely nervous around the corkscrew because it is one major place for people to mess up. So if you're very confident going to that corkscrew, you can make up some serious places in there if you're willing to pass. But yeah, nice pass for Thomas Crump on Jeremy Miller, and as we see Zachary Dubois wanting to kind of get past Miller in here. But kind of something that I was a little interested in is seeing Kyle Bonnet in 13th place. We don't usually see him so far back in the field. Usually he's sitting up a little farther in the field. Do you think that's just something of this season per se? Maybe I'm just kind of missing out, or is that is Kyle Bonnet just maybe had a bad start, bad qualifying?
Yeah, I think maybe it could just be track specific, because I think we've seen him at the front in other races, if I remember correctly. But Kyle Bonnet has had success with the CIL before, but maybe Laguna Seca just not his track. Sometimes it is tricky. This is an open setup race, for the CiL GT3 series. So if you have a setup that maybe doesn't suit your liking, if it's a little loose through the fast corners and a bit understeery in the slow corners, it's really difficult to get corners done. As we look back up towards our Muhammad Ali, currently sitting in 6th position. He's making a move on Daniel Hunter out of St. Clair College, or he's working on a move going into the Andretti hairpin, which is actually turn 2 technically, because turn 1 is a little kink on the straightaway. Makes it really confusing to number the corners around here, but turn 2, the Andretti hairpin, turn 3 up here where we saw Elite have his contact earlier, chasing that back end of Daniel Hunter down. It looks like Hunter a little bit wide as Elif is going to be making a move up to the inside turn 4, budging each other through the corner. It looks like there's a little bit of contact there, but Elif gets through unscathed and moves up into the top 5.
If I was our Muhammad Ali, I might have had a little flashback there to turn 1. Not really hoping that Daniel Hunter was able to hold himself together there and maybe not hit him. Our Muhammad Ali not being very, not giving, gave space, but not giving a ton of space to Daniel Hunter there, trying to kind of push him out of, not push him out of the way, but kind of moseying him on the way so he can kind of get his way up into 5th place currently as he's working his way back up to 1st. He's really charging ahead. He's done a great job of recovery after his turn 1 incident, and now he's hunting down Cohen Evans, who's, I will say, not an easy one to pass. Every time he passes someone, or every time Leaf goes past someone, it's getting even more and more difficult to pass these next drivers, and Cohen Evans, not an easy one to pass in my opinion, especially around Laguna Seca.
Yeah, absolutely. If you look back at this battle between Zachary DeWale, Jeremy Millerin, as well as Kyle Bonin in the 3rd place, or the 3rd car in that little train we're looking at now. Millerin in that gold and black BMW, DeWale in the black and, I guess that's maroon, Ferrari out of St. Clair, and then Kyle Bonin in the orange and black of Porsche. A lot of black on these cars, but they all look fantastic, and some of these drivers put a lot of effort into their paint schemes, and they look absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it's definitely an easy color to work with black. It kind of just goes with everything. Black and white, very neutral colors on the gray scale. So it's nice color to work with. And I believe the colors for St. Clair are, I think they're black, red, gold, and blue, if I'm not mistaken. I know they might not have blue, but I know they're definitely gold, red, and black. So that is definitely a beautiful color scheme. And I've always kind of give props to St. Clair for such great color schemes on their cars.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're looking back at this battle between Jonathan Webb out of UNC Charlotte. He's in the gold, green, and white BMW, and in front of him is Edwin Onofre. Looks like Webb's going to try to make a move on the outside of the corkscrew here. That's very ambitious. We saw Crump do it earlier. Webb could not do the same, as it looks like behind them a couple of cars now leading the pack. But this battle for the positions looks like 14th, 15th, 16th, and 17th. It's competitive throughout the field. Looks like that might be the lapped car of...
We have contact.
Lots of contact. We had contact and maybe even a self-spin as well. We're going to have to get a replay of that, because I think a lot was happening at one moment, and I think my brain couldn't connect the wires to get the words to come out of my mouth. Did a quick replay of that here. Looking at Edwin Onofre out of the University of North Texas. He's at the front of this little train here. In front of him, that looks like it's Austin DeLong, the 22 car out of Pennsylvania College Technology. Oh yeah, it looks like Onofre was a bit early on the brakes, and then that caused a chain reaction behind, which resulted in Jonathan Webb having contact with a couple other cars behind him. We'll get one more quick look at this.
Yeah, it looks like as Edwin Onofre kind of comes up here behind that car, kind of giving a little bit of brake early, as Webb kind of just gives him a little shove in the left-hand corner. I wouldn't really put a blame on any car. Maybe probably Jonathan Webb. It's the following car's job to kind of brake and slow up a little early, just no matter what happens. Edwin Onofre definitely trying to brake a little early, just so he gives that car in front of him a bit more space. That's definitely a rough turn to go into, because you slow down so much. And it's such a precise turn that you need, because if you don't get that correct launch off that turn, you're just going to be slower than the person behind you, and they're going to get that that draft off of the back of you, and they're going to pass you down into turn 2, the Andretti hairpin there. So definitely a difficult corner to kind of manipulate there.
Speaking of overtaking, we're looking back up at our elite out of Ball State University. sitting in 5th position still, but he's on that rear bumper of Cohen Evans out of IUPUI. That gold and black Porsche machine, excuse me. Looks like he had a poor exit out of turn 6 there, going up to the corkscrew. Alif's going to be holding that inside line, and Alif is going to clear him before they even get to the corkscrew. So Alif taking advantage of a mistake from Cohen Evans there, able to move up into 4th position. A couple cars in front of him still. Looks like he has about 5 seconds up to the car in 3rd. That's Jake Cummings out of Wingate University. But we'll see if he can catch up. About 12 minutes left in this first race of the evening. Your top 3 right now: Alexander Klink, the alumni. 2nd place is Connor Fisk out of University of Utah, and then 3rd, Jacob Cummings out of Wingate University.
Yeah, and I honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Cohen Evans kind of just lifted there just to let R. Muhammad Alif, because if I'm Cohen Evans, I mean, I know what R. Muhammad Alif kind of drives like, so maybe I'm just going to let him kind of go by. I'll take that that next position and just let him go. Not gonna fight that myself. Yeah, that's definitely, though. I can also see him just having a bad launch off of that turn. That's a very, very delicate turn. You know, even if you're inches off the correct line, you can really lose some drastic speed there. So not too sure, but all I can say is Alif is definitely flying away from Cohen Evans, trying to hunt down Jacob Cummings and then Connor Fisk, and then finally, hopefully, he can take that 1st position back from Alexander Klink.
Yeah, absolutely. As we look back at this battle we've been looking at all race, that gold and black car, Jeremy Miller out of Purdue, the alumni, followed by Zachary DeWale out of St. Clair College and Kyle Bond behind them. It looks like this battle has stagnated a little bit. Maybe it closes up and spreads out every couple of laps. But right now, DeWale thinks he has a run on Jeremy Miller and going up to the corkscrew. He's going to go on the outside potentially into the corkscrew, but really can't get that done. That's such a tough thing to do. Really, if you defend that inside line into the corkscrew, nobody's going to be getting around your outside. Since really, there's only room for 1 car down the corkscrew, and if you're on the outside, typically means you're further away from the corner. But Jeremy Miller continues to lead. He's sitting in 9th position currently. But Kyle Bonin is looking to be taking advantage of Zachary DeWale's attacking attempts not coming to snuff that lap.
Yeah, Zachary DeWale really trying to hunt down Jeremy Miller, but Miller definitely placing his car in kind of a good positions for him. But as Kyle Bonin kind of sniffing the back of DeWale's bumper here as he goes try to take through Andretti hairpin as he makes contact with Miller, and DeWale says, "Thank you very much. I'll take that position from both of you." Oh, as Miller spins himself out after that, trying to gather himself back up. So now it is just DeWale and Bonin, as Milleran's dropping through the places, currently P13. I wouldn't be shocked if you see a little further, because he has possibly quite a bit of damage on him there. As Kyle Bonin, yeah, he definitely made a bit of a lunge. If you're a steward, what would you kind of say on that kind of situation there? I know Kyle Bonin definitely made a lunge, but and made contact, but not too sure what happened.
Yeah, I think Kyle Bonin missed his braking point and sent it way too deep in the corner. We're going to get a replay of that here now. It's like Kyle Bonin, that back car right now out of University of Clemson, he really sent it in deep. He's, at this point, I think he knows he's not making the corner, and he's hoping that Jeremy Miller sees him in the mirror and he's going to give him room. But yeah, just straight over the curb, completely sideswipes Miller, and he really got just absolutely dive bombed there. And I think that was a really good job by Zachary DeWale, using his situational awareness and knowing that Bonin wasn't making that corner. Millerin was in the firing line of Kyle Bonin, and he just took the opportunity to brake a little bit harder, and he went straight under. And it looks like we'll have to see what happened to Jeremy Millerin here in this replay. I think he just coming out of the corner, I think he got a little bit loose. We'll see if he can rewind that super quick.
Ooh. He missed that tire wall and hit right into that concrete barrier. I think his race is over. He's gonna have pretty critical damage, car damage off of that. Yeah, it looks like he just spun it off of the Andretti hairpin after trying to just collect himself. And yeah, he goes into that concrete barrier, definitely giving him quite a bit of engine damage. That car is done for tonight, or at least for this race. He's going to have that extra car back in the garage to kind of lean back on. As we see Kyle Bonin really trying to kind of get it past Zachary DeWale there.
Completely lose it going into the corkscrew. He went straight over the gravel, completely missed the right-hander of the corkscrew. We can give a position up to Connor Fisk, and I think Connor Fisk had a little bit of an incident earlier in which he went off the track and he lost that second position. So Connor Fisk from second down to fifth, and Jacob Cummings was promoted up in the second as a result of that. But yeah, Nicholas Daly way out of shape in the corkscrew. That was a bit of a wild ride. He's lucky there wasn't any any contact with cars around him.
Yeah, he was able to hold that pretty well off the track. He was able to kind of collect himself back up, get his car straightened back up in a bit of control, and kind of get back on that. But that giving Alif position 3, so he's got right now he's sitting on the podium. He's going to be doing pretty well. Millerin also kind of not happy about what had happened. He's on the chat expressing his grudges, or I guess, or being upset about that on the radio. So
Yeah.
Yeah, as we see Zachary DeWale still ahead of Kyle Bonin, but Kyle Bonin really trying to get past him at any point he can. Almost made a pass in the Andretti hairpin again, but kind of backed off a bit as we are here entering into this kind of fast left-hander. As Kyle Bonin gets a bit of a launch, see if he can get past him. Zachary DeWale definitely placing his car well into this quick left-hander, going up towards the corkscrew here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the sun has been shaded by some clouds here at Laguna Seca. That's going to affect the track temperature and a little bit of the grip for these drivers. And Kyle Bonin, I think he knows he's quicker, but it's just so hard to make an overtake here at Laguna Seca. I think the opportunities to make an overtake really come after long straightaways, after slow speed corners. That's really where, if you get a good exit, you'll have a good run out of the corner, and you'll be able to maybe make a move into a heavy braking zone at the end of the straight. But really, there's only one of those here at Laguna Seca, and that's the Andretti hairpin, but it's really followed by a medium speed corner if anything. So hard to get anything done going into the Andretti hairpin unless you get a really, really good exit, or if there's a mistake by the driver in front.
Yeah, as we see Zachary DeWale still holding off Kyle Bonin. Kyle Bonin kind of just nudging on those brakes, really wanting to get by. He's really lurching forward to, but is kind of getting a little loose every once in a while on the exit of a turn. As we see him coming around this nice, easy right-hander. I love that turn. It's one of my favorite turns on this track. It's just so nice. You kind of keep your foot in, and you just go around wide. Is Kyle Bonin maybe going to make a lunge into this turn? No, he holds it back as we slowly approach Thomas Crum. Let's see if we can kind of wrap him into this mix. With these two here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Kyle Bonin has to be careful, because I think he's already in the steward's magnifying glass after that incident with Millerin earlier, and the absolute send of a dive bomb into the Andretti hairpin. I don't think the stewards would be happy to see Bonin get into another incident like that. As you see, somebody tries to get out of the way there. I can't tell who that is. It might be Athena Leclerc out of St. Clair College. The lap car is just trying to get out of the way and ran out of pavement to keep the tires on. But about 4 minutes left in this race, and Muhammad Alif is about a couple tenths behind Jacob Cummings. I think Alif he's looking at his chances and thinking if he can salvage a second place from race 1 after what happened on the first lap, I don't think he can be too mad with what happens. As Kyle Bonin tries to go around the outside of the Andretti hairpin there, can't quite get the move done, as Zachary DeWale is still able to hold on to that 9th position.
Yeah, that car going off track was going to be an Alexander Hogarth from St. Clair College in the Lamborghini, as he's pulled into the pits after I believe he hit a wall, kind of ending his first race there. As we only have 4 minutes left, less than 4 minutes, 3.5 minutes left in this race. Wow, time flies by when we're having fun here. I've definitely really enjoyed some of these kind of battles here going on especially this one between Zachary DeWale and Kyle Bonin, as Kyle Bonin still really trying to get past Zachary DeWale in this, but is still not able to get past him as we go into the corkscrew. Down the corkscrew, Zachary DeWale hitting just his right tires off on that kind of thing. As we take a look here, our Muhammad Alif currently in 3rd place, kind of having a go at Jacob Cummings.
Yeah, it looked like Cummings got a little bit wide there coming out of the Andretti hairpin, and Alif thought he could stick a nose in there, but couldn't quite get there. And Jacob Cummings leads with about there might be 2 laps to go after this one, so we're probably about 2.5 laps right now, but we'll have to see when they get back to the stripe how much time's remaining in this race. But Alexander Klink has led from pretty much turn 3 of the first lap to this point now, and he's pulled out a large gap, about almost 9 seconds now, between Klink and Jacob Cummings. So I think Alif's going to have to cut his losses at 2nd place if he can get past Cummings here in the corkscrew, maybe, as they come up to the corkscrew now. Not quite there to send a move down the inside of the corkscrew, but I think he's going to be taking his chances in the hairpin this next time around.
Yeah, our Muhammad Ali was definitely right on the back of Jacob Cummings, really trying to wait for him to either make a mistake, force him into a mistake as we come around this last, second to last turn, as we go into this last turn. Again, this is a very vital turn. If you can get this correct, you can really get a run on the person in front of you, as Alif is right behind Cummings. Hopefully he can get this his draft down turn 2 into the Andretti hairpin and maybe make a move as we see them approach Andretti hairpin as Alif try to go around the outside. Definitely a move that you can make going around the outside. I've definitely seen a few passes here. We saw a few last night, the Formula C, but Jacob Cummings really holding off Alif right there.
Yeah, some great defensive driving from Jacob Cummings right now. He's really trying to hold on to that podium position. That second place for Jacob Cummings would be a great result for him tonight. He did start this race in 6th. Moved up to 2nd after a couple of incidents. But our biggest mover of the night right now, Kyle Bonin. It looks like Kyle Bonin might have gotten past Zachary DeWale. Looks like he has, yes. But DeWale is going to be trying to send it back on the inside of the Andretti hairpin. We might have to go see if we can get a replay of that overtake, because that was a battle that had been brewing for quite a while. Some of the other battles in the field right now, looks like Cohen Evans is defending from Connor Fisk for a 4th position right now. Fisk had an incident earlier in the race, but it looks like Cohen Evans was a bit wide in turn 6. He's going to give that position up. And Connor Fisk moving up in 4th spot.
As we only have 40 seconds left in this race, these leaders are going to take the white flag very soon, probably the next time by, as they're kind of going around here. This last turn here, as we see, maybe Alif is going to get a nice launch. Jacob Cummings still getting that nice kind of placement of his car. Alif not being able to get around him. Hopefully, again, maybe Alif will try to make another move, maybe down the inside, depending on how well Cummings is able to place his car throughout this turn.
Yeah, this is the white flag lap, and it looks like Jacob Cummings is going to try to defend for the student lead for race 1, but he's able to hold off very well there. It looks like Alif might have had an opportunity, but couldn't quite get a nose in again on the exit of the Andretti hairpin as Jacob Cummings leads through turn 3 right now. Alexander Klink, your overall leader and alumni leader for race 1 of the evening, about 11 seconds ahead. So he's not going to play a factor in this race, as Alif really wants this student win for race 1 of the night.
Yeah, Alexander Klink has this in the bag. I mean, he's 10 seconds ahead of everyone else. I mean, he has this massive gap on everyone. There's no way, unless he kind of just majorly bends it into the wall. Alexander Klink is running away with this first race win here. But yeah, Alif is really trying his hardest to get around Cummings. He's trying everything he can going on the inside. He's all over the back of Cummings' car, but he's not able to make that move kind of stick. Cummings doing really well to kind of defend against that as we come around. He's nice turns. We come around the second to last turn here.
Yeah, as the battle between Cummings and Alif comes to a climax, Alexander Klink crosses the line to win your race 1 of the evening in the CiL GT3 Challenge. As Jacob Cummings still having this momentous fight with our Muhammad Alif, and it looks like Jacob Cummings out of Wingate University is going to secure the student victory in race 1, 2nd overall, with Alif following closely behind. Still a few battles going on throughout the field. For reverse grid pole right now, Jonathan Webb seems to have just gotten past Joshua Crane for 12th position. That's going to be the reverse grid pole for race 2. So if Crane can't make a move here, he's going to have to start 13th again in the next race. Excuse me, it looks like this is for 13th and 14th. Apologies, looks like Edwin Onofre is a couple seconds ahead, and he has the reverse grid pole as drivers continue to come across the line now. Looks like there's a car off in the wall there. I can't tell who that is, but...
Yeah, that was a beautiful...
Oop, go ahead.
That was a beautiful battle between Alif and Cummings there. I was really excited to see that. And great driving from Cummings. That was exceptionally driving. I did not see who went off track. There's quite a few people who went off track. Jeremy Miller and I know went off track. Athena Leclerc and Kyle Bonin all went off track. As Athena Leclerc actually passes Hogarth through P21 in the very end, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely. There's just battles all over the place, and can't figure out which one is the most exciting, but I think that battle we saw at the front for the student victory between Jacob Cummings and our Muhammad Ali was definitely exciting to watch. They fought it out across the line as the drivers round out their cool-down laps as we go into a little 5-minute warm-up session now. And we'll give 5 minutes between race 1 and race 2 for the drivers to sort of catch their breath, make sure that they have their setups correct, and maybe if they want to add a couple points of downforce, increase the angle of that rear wing, maybe change the suspension settings for race 2, they're free to do so. But race 1, what are your overall thoughts, Christian?
Race one was an absolute blast. I mean, I was asking for a bit of an upset throughout this race, and I mean, I got it. I got it on turn one, exactly what I wanted. And I got to see Leaf kind of just plow through the field, and after that, plow through the field in terms of kind of positions. He was really fighting his way through, so we got to see a lot of battles between him and some other drivers. I was super, super pleased with that first race. A bit of an upset for Jordan Johnson there, not being able to kind of go through with that after his second collision in the hairpin there, or excuse me, in the corkscrew. But other than that, I mean, in my opinion, it was a pretty exceptional race. I mean, we had some incidents here and there. We had some really, really good battles. So, really excited for what we can see in race two.
Yeah, absolutely. We saw, like you said, a lot of close racing, and I think some of the drivers who had poor races in race one are going to want to make up for their mistakes in race two. And I think that's definitely something we've seen in the past in the CIL, is that if you're unable to, if something happens in race one, we'll see Jordan Johnson, for example, he got into that incident in race one with Muhammad Alif, and then got into a separate incident which gave him some terminal damage. I think Jordan Johnson is going to want to pull a good race two out of his hat in order to keep the championship fight close. I know he had some success in race one, or in the first event at Long Beach, while Muhammad Alif had some misfortune. So maybe this offsets their championship hopes a little bit. Just a reminder for all the newcomers to the CIL now, that the worst event from your season is dropped. So race one, let's say you have two bad races, one race is dropped just because we know that people have very busy college schedules. A lot of our drivers are students, of course, so if things prohibit drivers from racing every week, we give them one drop week just so that they can focus on their studies, focus on school, and not worry about the CIL being the most important thing in their life. Unlike myself and Christian, we live, breathe, and eat, sleep. We do everything CIL here, and we're glad to be bringing you this amazing racing product here tonight.
Yeah, I mean, everyone here just absolutely loves kind of just being in the CL, racing with the CL. Everyone here just loves racing in general. Most of us, or quite a few of us, are still students here, and so those students, they're students first. They're not racing drivers first, so they really need to be able to kind of use that drop week. For maybe a different exam or class or something like that they really need to study for. So it's definitely important for them to have that drop week, even depending on the race. And I think even in Formula C we have 2 drop weeks, I believe. I'm not absolutely sure, don't quote me on that. But speaking of having issues, maybe having to drop a week, if I'm Jordan Johnson, I might drop to this week's race, because Jordan Johnson is receiving an EOL for race 2. For what happened in that first kind of incident there between him and Alif. So definitely a rough race for Jordan Johnson here. It was basically kind of crashed out of race 1 and now has an ELL for race 2. So definitely not kind of a good thing for Jordan Johnson. As well as kind of a note for EOLs. Kyle Bonin had an EOL for race 1, so that's why we saw him really far back in the pack. So he's definitely back to kind of where he wants to be. I believe he's going to be starting 4th. Yes, Kyle Bonin's going to be starting 4th. So definitely back to where he wants to be, where we usually see him at. So that's why he was so far back.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if you mentioned. I know you mentioned obviously Jordan Johnson having a penalty for race 2. I think you mentioned that it was for his contact with Alif. It was for his contact, I think, later on in lap 1, which ended his race. I think we never saw a replay of it on the broadcast, but I believe there was some contact with the corkscrew that race control deemed to be Jordan Johnson's fault, and that's going to give him the EOL for race 2, not the contact with Alif at third corner of the lap 1 in race 1.
I'm not too sure, and we'll have to go back that, or maybe get a confirmation from one of the stewards there, because when I went back and looked at that replay, it was definitely someone kind of shooting across the corkscrew, trying to avoid an incident, but collecting Jordan Johnson in the end. Maybe there was another incident that I kind of missed there that ended up giving him an EOL for that, but I thought Jordan Johnson got the EOL for the EOL for Jordan Johnson will be next week. So actually, honestly, that makes it even more rough. We got a confirmation from the stewards there. That honestly, I'd rather have it this week. I could just totally drop this entire week if I'm Jordan Johnson. So definitely getting that EOL next week definitely kind of maybe ruins that ruins my night a little bit, but definitely puts a damper on it. You could try to make a bit of a cause. Okay, so we got confirmation that was the corkscrew incident, not the leaf. So.
Big shout out to our race control. We do have real stewards. We don't have just the iRacing stewards, so they do a fantastic job of keeping the races here clean and handing out penalties as they see fit. That way, any incidents between drivers, such as the one we saw between Bonin and Millerin in race 1, is assessed a penalty. And just so you know, Kyle Bonin was assessed a 10-second penalty for avoidable contact with Millerin for that last incident with in race 1. But he's still starting in the 4th position for race 2.
Yeah, as well as 91 of Jonathan Webb is also given a 10-second penalty for the incident between in that last turn there with I think that was Jonathan Webb and correct me if I'm wrong, it was oh gosh, Edwin Onofre? I believe it was Edwin.
I think I apologize. I think I got the wrong car number. I think Jonathan Webb is the 91. I saw 91 receive a 10-second penalty, and I was like, oh, that's got to be Kyle Bonin for his incident, but it was not. The 91 was the Jonathan Webb incident we saw, I think, where he got into the back of Edwin Onofre in the penultimate corner.
Yeah, Kyle Bonin's going to be the number 260 car, who's currently the leader in the grid of the alumni, leading the rest of the alumni down to that checkered start.
I'm just going to have to go back to elementary school and learn how to count and associate numbers with cars. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm getting ahead of myself too much tonight. Too much exciting racing.
Who actually pays attention to the numbers in racing? I mean, maybe some NASCAR, you kind of know the numbers, but I mean, even in Formula One, no one really knows the numbers. I think I could, on the back of my hand or the top of my head, I think I could mention 5 drivers and their numbers, but other than that, I mean, one giveaway is Max Verstappen. I mean, he has the one. Other than that, I don't think I actually know his normal number. So.
Oh, you gotta take a crack at it now. You gotta take a crack.
Oh no. Is he? I think. I want to say he's 33.
You got it. There you go.
Oh, really?
It is.
Yes. Because I always thought it was funny because he was 33 and Hamilton was 44, and I thought it was always kind of Max just being a little petty and being like, haha, I'm 33, I'm better than you. But totally not what happened at all. I mean, it's just what happens in my brain, my weird brain here, but kind of impressed with myself.
And speaking of multiples of 11, we got 2 multiples of 11 leading our front row for race 2. We got Edwin Onofre out of University of North Texas in the 99 machine is leading our field of green with on his outside. Austin DeLong in the 22 as they get ready to come green here for race 2 of the CiL Event 3. And we are green as Edwin Onofre gets a fantastic jump on the start behind him. That's Zach DeWale in the St. Clair College car. As DeWale's going to be looking to the inside of Onofre now. He's going to want to make a move for the lead on the inside of turn 1. It looks like he might get that done. And he does as they go 2 by 2 behind them. Clean so far throughout the pack, no contact yet. But we come up to turn 3 now. Onofre on the inside of the St. Clair College car of Zachary DeWale. And they go clean through there, unlike in race 1 between our first 2 drivers. We're clean through turn 4 as well as we head up to turn 5.
Speaking of that, yeah, we have Muhammad Alif already making his way through the pack. He's already up to position 8, starting from, I believe it was position 10. So definitely, it was definitely making his way through. Actually, it was position, I think, 9. So he's made a position. But as he's here coming through, Alexander Klank right on his heels though, kind of making his way through. So that's looking good. Yeah, we've already had a pretty clean race. No one's really had any issues. We've had a couple cars go off track, but nothing serious. As we come through, here's the corkscrew. Definitely anticipating a wreck here, 1 or 2 maybe, as we can kind of see most of these drivers going through the corkscrew pretty clean. So I'm very happy, very excited about this next start of this race as we go through.
Yeah, absolutely. We got a battle here between Cone Evans in front of him with Jacob Cummings, and as well as Jonathan Webb in 13th behind. Jonathan Webb's trying to make up a few positions after starting in 13th in the second race of the evening. Can't quite get there, so the UNCC car of Jonathan Webb holds station at 13th with Cone Evan out of IUPUI in front of him.
Yep. as we have quite a few quick, drivers keep going. As we watching Cohen Evans being kind of attacked by Jonathan Webb. As we see, as we have a spin in the back though with Athena Leclerc, no contact on any other cars, but just a quick note for that.
Feel a little bit of contact here between Alexander Klink and Daniel Hunter, though, coming out turn 3. Klink on the outside gets bumped again by Jacob Cummings as Klink goes off the track. That's a very risky rejoin there. It's so difficult, really, once you get off the track, you just kind of get steamrolled. As Klink, our race 1 winner, just gets absolutely shuffled back to the field as we have drivers going 2 by 2, and it looks like we got a bit of a stack up here going up into turn 6. It'll be a little risky here to go side by side as drivers figure it out and they single file out as Webb gets a little bit loose. And oh, don't tell me they're going to go 3 wide in the corkscrew, please. Oh my goodness.
Oh, no. Oh gosh, here we go.
Oh,
okay,
man,
we're going 2 wide. 2
wow.
wide. All right, that's
2
not that
wide
bad.
through 2 rows through the corkscrew. That's the CiL at its finest right there. Fantastic racing between these cars right now. It's leaving me speechless.
Yeah, it's definitely a bit of an anomaly. You usually see just kind of one group of 2 by 2. If they went through 3 by 3, there, unless there was some type of miracle, there definitely would have been some contact between at least one of the drivers, or someone would have went off there. Definitely some phenomenal driving by these drivers, especially Alexander Klink, who was able to kind of keep that car stable going off track. I will say, I don't, this might just be me, but I swear, when you go off track here, it is even more difficult to kind of keep the car under control than it is most other tracks. Even though it's still, I think, the same type of material that iRacing uses, I just think it's so much harder to keep the car on track.
Absolutely. As you see our own Joshua Crane from the CiL out of University of Michigan, making his way up into the 12th position. He just got past Jonathan Webb in the Andretti hairpin for that spot. It looks like Webb is under a little bit more pressure now from Jordan Johnson behind. Jordan Johnson gets in the back of Jonathan Webb there, and Jordan Johnson, he might be paying for the price for that one as well. As Jordan Johnson has EOL for race 2, and unfortunately, he's probably going to be getting another penalty for that, as we're going to get a replay here of Jonathan Webb getting sent to the Shadow Realm by Jordan Johnson.
Ooh. We have Alexander Klink getting caught up with Jonathan Webb as well and getting spun out. I wasn't really sure what kind of happened there, but as we see Jonathan Webb getting spun out there. And just a note, Jordan Johnson's EOL will take place next week, not this race, or the following week,
okay.
Not next week.
Oh, it looks like Alexander Klink's getting the back of Jacob Cummings there. Apologies for mixing up another penalty tonight. I'm just getting all my wires crossed, but as things stand right now. As things stand right now, Zachary DeWale still in the lead from Edwin Onofre, and Kyle Bonin did just have the fastest lap of the race. He was 6 tenths quicker than the front 2 drivers that last lap around. He's really caught the back of that front 2 drivers. Kyle Bonin out of the University of Clemson is making up some ground here in race 2. Klink is really getting the back in there out through turn 4. Almost loses it. Great job to collect it, but Klink having a really scrappy race so far. He's going to lose a position to Joshua Crane. Maybe. Nah, he's able to hold on there. He loses position to Jordan Johnson. Joshua Crane can't get that move done. So Alexander Klink's going to be holding on to that whole spot for now.
Yeah, Clinton definitely having a bit of a white-knuckle race here tonight, although he probably wouldn't want to be, but definitely having one of those white-knuckle races tonight as he keeps going, kind of having misfortunes here and there between with other drivers or even himself on some of these tracks, going off the track and going into the grass, but he's able to hold on to it really well and kind of keep it in and see if he can keep it in. So he's still P12, not his perfect position that he wants to be in, but definitely better than... not really better than where he was before. He's actually kind of where he started then he finished, because as we invert our grid, as he took first in our Heat 1 race, so he's back to where he started. He hasn't lost any positions, he hasn't gained any positions, so not doing too shabby for Alexander Klink. Definitely wants to be up higher though.
Absolutely. As we look back towards the front of our field, Zachary DeWale out of St. Clair College still leading the pack with Edwin Onofre behind him out of University of North Texas, with Kyle Bonin in 3rd, and R. Muhammad Alif has snuck his way into this fight now. He's in the 4th position, and he was the fastest car on the track that last lap around. So we'll have to see what these cars can do here. I think Bonin and Alif are both a little quicker than the 2 cars in front of them, but that's the beauty of the invert. If you're fast in race 1, you got to show off that racecraft in race 2. As Bonin, deep on the brakes, tries to get a move done up on Edwin Onofre. He can't quite do it. He's going to be under pressure now from R. Muhammad Alif.
Yeah, our Muhammad Ali really kind of pushing his way, showing his kind of skill and talent throughout this track here tonight, as he's up 6 positions from 10th place. He's really kind of grinding his way through these grid positions, though he's not right now. He's not the biggest winner currently. We have Jordan Johnson, who started back 13 places from where he is now. I believe that comes out to 24th, if I'm not mistaken. So he is going to be up 13 places in 11th place. So definitely he's made quite a bit of moves, and we're only 7 minutes into the race.
See Kyle Bonin here, though, making a move into the Andretti hairpin, trying to go on the inside of Edwin Onofre, and he can't quite do it. But our Muhammad Ali takes advantage of Kyle Bonin's misfortune and is trying to stick it up the inside of turn 4 now, and he looks like he gets the move done. So our Muhammad Ali is able to take advantage of Kyle Bonin's attack, failed attack, I should say, and moves himself up another spot.
Yeah, we have a bit of complaining over the radio from Jeremy Miller, stating that another driver kind of dive bombed him going into that last turn there. I went and checked that out. I don't think that was a dive bomb in my particular belief. I think he just kind of came up on him a little quick. I wouldn't consider that a dive bomb. I think that was a valid pass, but we definitely have some some misfortune for Miller, I guess, back in 17th place.
Yeah, it seems like Miller just can't catch a break for some of these lunges to overtake. You know, at Laguna Seca, it's so tough to overtake, as we mentioned earlier, as Alif was looking inside here into the final corner of this track. Can't quite get there, but it's so difficult to overtake at Laguna Seca. Sometimes the only way you can do it is really just get on the brakes a couple meters later than your opponent, the guys you're racing with, and hope that you're able to stop the car in time. As we see Alif, he looks to be doing the same here in the Andretti hairpin. This is turn 2 technically, and he looks like he gets the move done early into the corner, and our Muhammad Ali moves himself up into 2nd place, looking to hunt down the lead here soon from Zachary DeWale.
Yeah, I mean, Alif, already up in the 2nd place. He's made 8 places in 8 minutes. Wow, that kind of just clicked in my head. He's made a position a minute. It's definitely pretty powerful for Malif as he's trying to hunt down Zachary DeWale. Definitely not an easy one to pass, as we saw from last race with Kyle Bonin. Definitely interested to see this kind of battle coming up here with Zachary DeWale and our Muhammad Alif. I almost said Alexander Klenk. I'm used to him being up front. Alexander Klenk is certainly in 10th position, trying to fight Jordan Johnson and keep Josh Crane away from him.
Yeah, it looks like Zachary DeWale was a little bit deep in the corkscrew, and our Muhammad Alif is going to send it out of the corkscrew. He's on the inside line right now, but he's going to be on the outside for this penultimate corner at Laguna Seca. It looks like DeWale does a great job on the brakes there, and he's able to retain that first position. He's going to go back to his normal line, as it looks like our Muhammad Ali is going to try to send one up the inside, and DeWale can't quite get back to that bumper, and it looks like Kyle Bonin is going side by side with Edwin Onofre behind right now, but our Muhammad Ali crosses the line as your current race leader, as Kyle Bonin behind them. It looks like you get a move done on Edwin Onofre on the inside. Bonin in that orange and black car, still side by side with Onofre. They're going to be going side by side in turn 3 here momentarily. We saw contact here in race 1. We saw contact here earlier in race 2, but Onofre can't quite hold on the inside line, and Kyle Bonin is going to move up into 3rd position now.
Yeah, that was a beautiful overtake from Muhammad Alif. Absolutely beautiful. Zachary DeWale definitely left that open. I think he should have placed this car a bit more into the center. He kind of left that door open for Alif just to kind of swoop in and say, thank you, I'll take that position from you. Zachary DeWale definitely not out for his race is over, as though Alif is definitely shooting his way already to I believe, a 3-second gap, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think that's a 3-second gap. He's kind of built up already within a few turns, so Zachary DeWale is definitely going to have a hard time hunting Alif down. But Kyle Bonin, Nicholas Daly, and Edwin Onofre definitely going to make an interesting battle coming up here. I think they're all going to get bunched up behind Zachary DeWale, and I think we're going to have another battle between Zachary DeWale and Kyle Bonin. I'm really excited to see this. That was an exceptional battle in Heat 1. I'm definitely excited to see it in Heat 2.
Yeah, I think we saw a fantastic move from Nicholas Daly, the 280 machine out of the University of Texas at Arlington. He made a great move up the inside of turn 5 to get past Edwin Onofre. Really kind of had to almost slide job it, as you would say on the dirt oval scene, to get that move done. But Nicholas Daly, he has a lot of speed right now, so I expect to see him catch up to that back bumper of Kyle Bonin shortly, and it's going to be a fight for the the alumni class win here, as Kyle Bonin and Nicholas Daly are fighting out for maximum points in the alumni class.
Yeah, Kyle Bond and Nicholas Daly, those are two top student, or excuse me, wow, I had one word to get correct. Alumni leaders is Ar Muhammad Alif and Zachary DeWall are two student leaders. So definitely going to see quite a bit of battle in between them. So no matter, so you know, even though our positions, again, everything is kind of pointed differently between our alumni and our students, they still want to kind of fight for that overall position and see if they can get that, because we kind of calculate all of it. We calculate, we do the points for overall finishing position, we do the overall points for student, we do the overall points for alumni. We kind of calculate it all just to give these drivers kind of any points or any statistics they might want to use, in the future, kind of just show off or kind of brag a bit about it. It's fun, so we kind of give points to everyone for everything in that sense.
And absolutely, as our Muhammad Alif has really stretched that gap out now. He was 2 seconds quicker than any of the cars behind him right now that last time around. Maybe about a second and a half, actually, but still, Alif with a massive gap to the cars behind now. I think he's going to be pulling away for the win of this race unless anything drastic happens. But Kyle Bonin, Nicholas Daly, Edwin Onofre, those guys are still looking for positions and points here in this race. Every position matters in the championship battle. It can come down to the last corner in some cases. So Kyle Bonin definitely wants to get this move done and put a little bit of a gap between himself and his second place alumni driver in Nicholas Daly.
Yeah, as we kind of still looking here between this battle between Kyle Bond and Nicholas Daly and Zachary DeWall, Edward Onofre kind of sitting back, maybe waiting for a bit of a show, kind of a thing to go down. Maybe
we got a spin here. Kyle Bonin spins into the corkscrew. Looks like while defending from Nicholas Daly, Kyle Bonin just got too late on the brakes, and Bonin just spins into the corkscrew. It's such a hard thing to do when you're defending and trying to be deeper on the brakes. Just a couple meters too late, and you're spinning off into the gravel and dirt. That's an unfortunate spin from Kyle Bonin, but he's going to come back out on the track at 13th position, so he's lost a ton of ground there. Really unfortunate from Kyle Bonin.
Yeah, that was, I'm going to blame that one commentator's curse there. As I was literally saying, Edwin Onofre is going to just wait for someone to mess up there. Kyle Bonin kind of spins it out and gives a good spinale throughout the thing. These other two drivers, or excuse me, I believe that is Nicholas Daly doing a good job of kind of holding his brakes a bit, waiting for him to kind of spin through and kind of go and collect up the points there that are left over. But definitely a rough one for Kyle Bonin right there. He has to wait for all of these drivers to go past to make a safe re-entry. Definitely a rough spot to get stuck, because you have to kind of go up
the wall.
Oh,
it's such a tough spot.
If you get spun around backwards like that, it's a really, really rough spot to continue on from. So, maybe if I'm Kyle Bonin, I might also drop this week. I mean, he didn't. Yeah, actually, he finished into the points. He might not drop this week. I don't know. He's definitely not going to have the best of weeks, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, absolutely. I think really Nicholas Daly was the aggressor there. I think Daly made a move to the outside, and you're never going to get that move done in the corkscrew, but maybe you can force a mistake, and that's exactly what Nicholas Daly did, doing a great job there of some offensive driving as he looks to make another case of offensive driving for us here in the CIL as he looks to overtake Zachary DeWale for second place now. Coming down into the Andretti hairpin on that outside line, taking all the track he can and then some, trying to see if he can get a little bit of over-under action here. He has a good exit from the corner. He's going to be able to get to that bumper potentially of Zachary DeWale. Can't quite get there, but these guys still fighting for second, third, and fourth if you include Edwin Onofre at the tail of that train.
Yeah, Zachary DeWale's doing a really, really good job, and as usual, of holding off Nicholas Daly here, and as he was holding off Kyle Bonin earlier, as well as we saw in Heat 1. As we also see Athena Leclerc kind of spin in P21, doing the exact same thing as Kyle Bonin. I just kind of checked my kind of stats there to see that we had someone spin out again. It's definitely a rough spot to spin on that corkscrew. Not the easiest place to hold it there. You definitely have to kind of, and it's a very weird corner. It's very difficult to explain, but it's you don't want to have too much power going off the corner, because you end up getting some air. So it's a rough corner. That's all I can say.
Look at this power move here coming from Edwin Onofre, though. Onofre had a great exit out of turn 6 leading up to the corkscrew. He's able to get past Nicholas Daly, who made a mistake. And now it looks like he's going to be challenging for the second position in only a couple of corners from 4th to potentially 2nd here.
As we head down to the Andretti hairpin to see if Edwin Onofre wants to make a move, maybe an over-under a bit on Zachary DeWail. No, Zachary DeWail kind of holding off, putting his car in the perfect position. But Edwin Onofre right on the bumper of Zachary DeWail, really fighting for second position there. So we're gonna see if this can, if we can do it. We do have an an all student right now, top 3. So all these drivers are really fighting for maximum points right now. It's not like they're going to kind of differ between the points for the students and the alumni. As we see, Connor Fisk is a retirement from this race.
Yeah, unfortunate. Connor had some pace tonight, but just a few bad luck moments with maybe getting off the track and spinning. But Edwin Onofre, you mentioned a couple laps ago how Onofre just had to kind of sit and wait and hope drivers maybe made mistakes in front of him, and he's done exactly that. He's passed Nicholas Daly due to a mistake from Daly. He got past Kyle Bonnet because Bonnet spun in the corkscrew. And I think Onofre is running a really clean and controlled race right now, and I'm wondering if he maybe saved the grip in those tires and he just has a couple of a little bit extra grippy tires. As it looks like, again, on the outside of the final corner, Onofre is going to try to get this move done. He can't quite get there, but he should have a good exit to potentially challenge into the Andretti hairpin here.
Yeah, he's definitely trying his hardest to kind of get a good launch off of some of these turns right onto Zachary DeWail. I think he's pushing a little too hard on some of these turns. He should be kind of right on the bumper of Zachary DeWail maybe, as I think he's pushing a little too hard on some of these corners. He's trying to make some overtakes that aren't going to stick. I think he just needs to hold back a little bit, find that perfect corner, make that perfect launch off of that turn, and I think he's going to be able to get past them and really fight for that turn. Every time he's kind of going on the outside to see if he can overtake him. But I think Zachary DeWail kind of knows exactly what's about to happen, so he places his car accordingly. But Edwin Onofre definitely having a really good race tonight. I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, and you look behind this trio of cars here of Onofre, Daly, and Hunter. DeWail, Onofre, and Daly here. Daniel Hunter, Jacob Cummings, Alexander Kling, Joshua Crane, all slowly closing up onto this trio right now. I think these guys racing have slowed him down a little bit. Maybe DeWail is slower than expected, and he's kind of holding up this pack here. But these cars in 6th through 10th position have really started to come alive here as Onofre goes to the outside of the final corner again, thinking, this is my chance if I get a good over-under here. It looks like he does get a great exit there, but Zachary DeWail is kind of a little squirrely on Onofre might have to lift as they go down to the Andretti hairpin side by side again as Onofre looks to the outside.
Yeah, I think soon enough we're going to have this big gaggle of 6 cars here. But as you saw, Joshua Crane just a little earlier kind of do a little spin, giving Thomas Crump that 8th position, as Joshua Crane is now in 9th. But definitely a good race between all of these drivers here. I'm excited to see what this kind of gaggle of cars fighting for really, second position. We're going to have, I think, what is this, 5-6 cars fighting for second position, which is going to be absolutely astronomical. As we hit 5 minutes to go just now for the rest of the race, we're hitting that 20-minute mark now. What do you think the rest of this race is going to look like there, Matthew?
I think we're going to see a lot of action here. I think we could throw really 4, 5, 6 cars under a blanket here as Daly and looks like Daniel Hunter go side by side behind him in the corkscrew, but Hunter backs out just a little bit as these cars are really nose to tail right now. I can't tell the difference between a racetrack and rush hour traffic right now almost. It's insane. We're coming to the climax of the second race of the evening here tonight, and we're really getting some good action between these drivers as just that shot right there really shows how close these drivers are.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see these. I'm really excited to see these next few laps here as we're coming down to the 4-minute mark here. All these drivers are, P2 for P7 are all really fighting for this. Edwin Onofre brought on the back of DeWail's tail as Nicholas Daly's kind of sitting back, also trying to maybe just see if they, Onofre or maybe DeWail makes a mistake, kind of takes each other out. They're all kind of sitting there as Clay, Cummins, and Hunter are all kind of fighting a bit for 6th and 5th. I definitely think we're going to have a really good fight here. I think only 2 of these drivers out of this gaggle of 6 are alumni. So we have 4 students fighting for maximum student points in this category here.
Yeah, absolutely. And DeWale just done a fantastic job defending, but Onofre here, it looks into the inside. I think Onofre is trying just to fill up the mirrors of DeWale and see if he can force an error, as Onofre had a great exit out of the corner. He wanted to go to the inside of DeWale, but couldn't quite get there. And Onofre is going to have to settle for trying to get a good move into the corkscrew here. And you see lap traffic ahead. Lap traffic gets clear out of the way. It's a great job by them to make sure that they don't interfere with this battle for the podium here, with really 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cars in a mix for it at the end of this race. It looks like we're gonna have potentially 3 laps to go at the stripe, maybe 2, depending on how far Alif gets ahead of this pack here.
Alif is just flying ahead of the pack. He's in his own race. He's in his own race. 18, almost 19 seconds ahead of the rest of the pack. He's just on his own, trying to chill out. I can't even see him on the camera when I'm looking at the other racers. He's just having his own little good old time, as these next 6 drivers are kind of fighting tooth and nail to try to keep their positions.
Yeah, as we say that, we saw Alexander Klink make a move at the back of this pack for 6th position over Jacob Cummings, making the move down into the Andretti hairpin. That Worcester Polytechnic Institute driver in the 013 machine, moving himself up into the top 6 right now.
Yeah, Alexander Klink, that really powerful driver, has definitely had some an unfortunate race 2 there with quite a few incidents, definitely some running some wide on it, but he's definitely making up the positions now. He's currently in position 6. I'm sure he'd like to be in position 5, but he is an alumni, so he would be taking 2nd position, I believe, out of all of the alumni. If my board is correct, so he would be making quite a few points on that alumni board, fighting with Nicholas Daly for that position 1, and Kyle Bodden for position 3, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. We're looking at the rest of my settings.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what Alexander Klink wants to do now is get past Daniel Hunter as soon as he can this lap, and maybe challenge Nicholas Daly for that alumni class win here tonight. And it looks like Klink is. He might not be close enough this lap, but next lap he could get past Daniel Hunter here for that top 5 position.
Yeah, he's got but I think he has about 1.5 seconds, almost 2 seconds between him and Nicholas Daly as he tries to make a lunge into the turn 2 through the Andretti hairpin, but doesn't really make it stick. He's not close enough to Daniel Hunter, but I think in the next lap or so he's going to be able to kind of hopefully make that position stick for at least Alexander Klink. And if I'm rooting for Daniel Hunter here, Daniel, I hope he's able to kind of place his car just in the perfect position for to hold off Alexander Klink for this rest of this race as he holds on to position 5. Definitely in a racer's mind, a good position to be. Top 5, top 10. You always go by those 5 numbers, 5-digit increments. You always want to be in those top 5, 10, 15.
You always want to be in the single digits.
Oh yeah, the single digits is definitely where you want to land always. But as you go into the corkscrew, definitely a bit of kind of weariness from all these drivers, kind of all clenched up together. It would remind you a bit of the start of a race where they're all kind of clumped up together, kind of a little nervous around what another driver will do, especially going into that corkscrew, which is really kind of a hairy move. As we go into this last turn here, different drivers making different moves. Ooh, kind of the lunge from Daniel Hunter on Nicholas Daly, but not be able to make it stick.
Yeah, as they come across the stripe now, this is your last lap. The white flag is waving. Barney's going wild with it. 1 lap to go here at Laguna Seca for the GT3 challenge in the CiL. Looks like there's going to be a move to the inside here, but Daniel Hunter can't quite get it done as Alexander Klink goes on the outside, trying to get the move done. There's almost contact there between him and Jacob Cummings, but Muhammad Alif way out in front of the field right now. He's almost guaranteed to win this race with how he's been going. 20 seconds is the gap right now. And it looks like Zachary DeWale is able to pull out a bit of a gap over Edwin Onofre now, as Alexander Klink hopes to get 1 more position here on Daniel Hunter.
Yeah, we're currently in the white flag. It's a guarantee for Alif to take that first place, even if he spins. I think he has enough time to collect himself and even get maybe even twice for him to kind of make a little mistake there. But yeah, Zachary DeWale definitely putting a decent amount of gap between him and Edwin Onofre, while Nicholas Daly, Daniel Hunter, Alexander Klink, and Jacob Cummins are all kind of fighting in the back for that next position available as we come through this corkscrew. Hopefully no one makes a mistake. No lunges there to be seen as we go through, but definitely Alexander Klink right on the bumper of Daniel Hunter. I think.
Yeah, as you say that, Muhammad Alif comes across the line now to take victory in race 2 for the CiL GT3 challenge. Going back to this battle we've been looking at all night, Edwin Onofre is not able to catch up to 2nd place, as it looks like Alexander Klink's going to be making the move to the outside of Daniel Hunter here in that green and white Porsche. Can't quite get there though, but Zachary DeWale is going to come across the line under immense pressure from the cars behind and take that 2nd place of the evening. Edwin Onofre, he put up a valiant effort but couldn't quite make the moves to get past the whale. Comes home in third, and Nicholas Daly in fourth takes your alumni win, not championship. We're not there yet. He takes the alumni class victory here in the race 2 tonight. Nicholas Daly out of UT Arlington. Daniel Hunter, we saw him defending from Alexander Klink at the end there. And Klink comes home ahead of Cummings in 6th and 7th, with Thomas Crump in 8th. Cale Davidson in the CIL debut comes 9th. And 10th place, Cone Evans, we saw him have a bit of an incident earlier, as we still have drivers racing throughout the field right now. Tyler Stone and Austin DeLong right now come across the line. Those two were going at it for a couple laps. And Joshua Crane, he's going to round out some of your lead lap drivers and come home in 18th right now. But there was a lot to cover there. I feel like I missed a lot. But Christian, as the drivers finish up the race now, they come across the line, and someone sends a traffic cone from pit lane into oblivion. What a race.
Yeah, as we have our last driver currently just finished up right now, Blake Ellison taking that. It was an exceptional race, and I mean, our Muhammad Ali, right this race, you got to see just the absolute beast that he is of a driver. So I'm super excited for him. Congratulations to Malif Alif, as well as Zachary Dewell and Edwin Onofre for coming home position P2 and P3 there on that last race. I mean, it was such a. There was so much in that race. I mean, we have upsets in the very beginning of the race. Then Heat 1, we had upsets even in Heat 2 with Jordan Johnson not being able to kind of hold on with that. We had different contacts. We had absolutely amazing battles because again, this is a pretty difficult track to pass on. So we have those battles really intensify throughout this race, and this was probably one of my favorite races so far in terms of the GT3 season. And I'm excited what comes next. What did you think about the rest of the race?
Man, I was at a loss for words the entire second half of that race. I could not catch the words. I couldn't say the words fast enough for what was happening. It was just a spectacular race to watch. I'm so glad to have helped commentate and produce on that race. And I'm sure we're going to have a lot to hear from our top 3 finishers for the evening as they pile into the interview waiting room. Let's see if we can get a few of those drivers up here now into the broadcast booth. Joining us now in the broadcast booth, is Edwin Onofre out of the University of North Texas. Edwin, that was an incredible fight we saw you have with DeWale and Nicholas Daly behind in race 2 tonight. What was going through your mind, and were you worried about points, or were you just worried about positions in the race tonight?
Edwin?
Sorry, I had a little bit of problem with the Discord button. But yeah, I was just thinking of it as just a standard sprint race. But still, I could not get around Zachary DeWill without punting him because I was not that type of person to race. I don't dive bomb people because that's just not how I race.
Yeah, it's definitely a hard track to pass on. And we saw that last night in the Formula C. We saw that tonight. Zachary Dwell, yeah, he seemed a bit of a concrete wall for different drivers tonight. Kyle Bonin also having a really hard time passing him, although you were able to pass him kind of with ease as he spun out in the there in the hairpin. Throughout tonight's race, what would you say the hardest part of the racing this track tonight is, especially with these GT3 cars?
The GT3 cars have enough downforce to go into the corners quickly, but the thing about it is that not everybody's able to go into those corners quickly. Like I see a lot of people struggling with getting into the exits and entries right. That's how I was able to catch up to the well, because I was getting good entries and exits in turn 1. I was also able to get around the sweeping corners, and it's just very hard to put the power down. But luckily, I was able to get a setup to where, well, I just used a standard iRacing setup, honestly. I just needed to make sure I had enough downforce for this track because, like I said, it's very sweepy, high-speed sweeping corners, but it was just it's a very narrow track. As much as I really wanted to try to get past Zachary DeWell, there was just not enough room for me to be able to make the pass. And even if I tried to dive bomb, it just wouldn't work out because in the end, if I make a mistake, fly like the brakes or so, it's just going to cause me to crash against him and we will both be out. So it was not going to be worth it for position or for points. But yeah, that was a bit of a stretch on that race, but I can't believe out of my second race in the entire GT3 season of CIL, I was able to put up P3 in the second race.
Well, Edwin, it was... Oh, go ahead, Christian.
I was just saying, yeah, congratulations on that P3. What an exceptional race you had. I mean, you were really attacking Zachary well there hard. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, I was just about to follow up what Christian said. Just Edwin, congratulations. That was fantastic to watch in the booth. It made for a really enjoyable race. Before we send you on your way tonight, anybody you want to thank or shout out on the broadcast?
Well, first off, I'd like to thank God for giving me this opportunity to live my life at throughout. Second, I would like to thank my family. I would like to thank mi madre, mi padre, mi hermano, and my pet Daisy. I said my brother, my sister, my brother, my father, and mother in Spanish. And third, I would like to thank everybody at UNT who has helped me out to get throughout here. Everybody from my past life, and not past life, my past life, like in high school, elementary, everybody that got me up to here. Shout out to the UNT Engineering Club. Shout out to everybody at UNT. Shout out to the UNT Smash Club. This one's for you guys. I'm really happy I was able to get this race and this performance in this race. Thank you guys so much for this broadcast. You guys put up a great show.
Well, thank you, Edwin. Once again, congratulations on the podium finish tonight, and we'll send you on your way and have a good evening.
Thank you. Enjoy.
And that was the very characterful Edwin Onofre. He had a lot of thank you and shout outs to send out there. So he fantastic racer. Love to hear from him, and I'm glad we got to hear from him tonight because he definitely had an eventful race. Joining us now in the booth is your second place finisher for the evening. It's Zachary DeWale out of St. Clair College. Zach, that was some amazing defensive driving right there. How worried were you about how close Edwin got to you through some of those corners, and were you worried if he was going to overtake you at all?
I was terrified. Honestly, that was the most stressful race I think I've been a part of. Uh, Man, I was trying to defend as hard as I could without just straight up blocking him, and yeah, I'm happy he didn't try and send it too hard and take us both out. So it was fun.
Yeah, I mean, you were an absolute concrete wall. I mean, the Minister of Defense has nothing on you for tonight. I mean, you were putting up such a great defense on Edwin Onofre and even Kyle Bond in that first race. I mean, that was absolutely exceptional. What an amazing battle. I think you had probably the most airtime tonight. Just the absolute control, the amazing control of the car you had tonight. I mean, what is kind of not what's your secret, but I mean, how are you tonight in controlling these cars around this car around here?
I don't know what it is really. I feel pretty comfortable in the GTs. I don't run them as much as I probably should, but yeah, I don't know what it is about them. I just feel super comfortable for running heavier cars because I've been running the stock cars on this game forever. So
Yeah,
it's more similar to that than the F4.
Yeah, I mean, you and Jacob Cummings were the only two to run the Ferrari tonight, so definitely kind of you were able to show that the choice of car isn't exactly what gives you the win or the any kind of power here. It's all about the driver skill, and you definitely showed that tonight.
For sure. All I've heard people saying about the Ferrari is that it's a tractor and it plows like crazy. So uh, it was cool to give her a podium.
Yeah, absolutely, Zach. It was a fantastic race to watch. Before we send you on your way tonight, is there anybody you want to thank or shout out on the broadcast here?
For sure. Emily, Riley, Jordan, everybody watching. I guess I put on a pretty good show for them. So hopefully we can do it again next week at Talladega.
Well, Zachary, once again, congratulations on your second place finish tonight and here in race two. I hope you have a good evening and a good rest of your day.
Thank you, you too.
And that was our second place finisher. Overall, that was Zachary DeWale out of St. Clair College. Some great defensive driving there. I think we saw a bit of a clinic from the O2 machine out of St. Clair College. Really glad we could watch him race as we get our final podium finisher here in the booth momentarily. It's R. Muhammad Alif out of Ball State University. Alif, congratulations on the race victory in race two. I think we saw a dominating victory in race two, but I think we all want to talk about the incident in race one with Jordan Johnson. What was going through your mind as that happened in race one?
Uh, to be honest, I wasn't really feeling much because my mind kind of went like, oh, I've got 24 minutes to make up all the spots. So that was what was, I wasn't really thinking about the incident, but it was unfortunate. I think I left enough gap on the inside. I think we just had like a small touch. And on iRacing, the smallest of touches can spin you around. So I think that was unfortunate racing incident, which I think that's what the stewards decided. But yeah, the fight back was fun, and it helped with the race too as well because I was learning, I was using different lines and different techniques to find my way through. So yeah, really really good round for us.
Yeah, I mean that was an absolute exceptional drive for you for I mean both races coming from a spin and a spin out in heat one to I mean this the starting in I believe it was 10th and heat two you were able to make your way up all the way into position or winning that last race as well as a 22-second gap from P2, an absolutely exceptional gap. I mean you're kind of just flying through this track, and as I asked the other drivers. How do how are you feeling with these GT3 cars? I know you're in the Mercedes. All three, everyone was in different kind of cars. There's no over dominating car. I know this is kind of your preferred car, but how are you feeling around with the GT3s around this track, especially with just kind of I feel like a tricky track is Laguna Seca can be in terms of when you kind of push a little when you get to those limits.
Yeah, I mean the GT3, the Mercedes actually pretty front heavy with the big V8 on the front. And like during practice, I was like playing with the setup, trying to get the front to rotate even more. So that pace, I think, really just came down to just me spending all that time during free practice session, just going through the setup, working through it, and then eventually finding the pace. So yeah, I mean the Porsches, like you said, I think the balance of performance is pretty good. It just comes down to how well you can set the car up and how clean you can drive it throughout the race. So I think that's what it came down to.
Yeah, and to give kind of an idea for these viewers and other people and watching along, how much time do you spend kind of practicing for each race in terms of maybe perfecting that setup, perfecting the perfect line, finding different lines maybe if you're trying to kind of fight against or defend against people. What kind of time do you put in for each race and what kind of effort?
I mean, every week I kind of spend about 20 hours a week, not just on this race, but I'm doing various different championships like Virtual Le Mans and Intercontinental GP championships. So yeah, just a variety of things. And then yeah, this one I'm like, close to every day, putting in the time and effort because the field, at the top is pretty close. Nicholas and Jordan Johnson are really fast drivers. So, you got to put in the effort and you got to put in the time to be able to win. So, yeah, I dedicate myself to that.
Well, Alif, I think we definitely see your dedication showing on the track with your dominating performances and dazzling overtakes. Before we send you on your way tonight, is there anybody you want to thank or shout out on the broadcast?
Yeah, my teammate Kale, who actually joined, he's one of our academy drivers who got promoted to the main seat, so he did a good job. And then Dan Marino from who's our esports director, and the whole Ball State esports team, Rahal, Letterman Lanigan, esports team as well for their support. As well as my team back in Singapore, Team Flash, and everyone who's watching, my friends, family. And everyone who's really watching the stream, really thank you for watching.
Well, Alif, congratulations once again on your race two victory and your fantastic recovery race in race one. You take it easy for the rest of the night. We hope to see you again here in the booth soon.
Thank you, Matthew and Christian.
Thank you.
And that was our race two winner, our Muhammad Alif. And I think that's really going to wrap it up for the interviews and what we have here tonight at the CIL. Just a couple of closing thoughts. Christian, I think we saw some fantastic racing here tonight. How much longer do we see all these guys at the top of the field really putting in the effort. We heard Alif just now say he puts in work every day on the CIL specifically. So what do you think it's going to take for some of these drivers to really rise to the top of this field?
I mean, yeah, I mean it's practice, practice, practice. I mean, you see it here and again. I mean, it's just drivers putting as much time and effort as they can into some of these races. It's a very hard effort, especially with the GT3 having a different setup whereas our Formula C and our Oval you have kind of fixed setup. So definitely having to perfect your setup when you're coming here, so you can have that perfect feeling in the car. Because no setups one fits all. It's you have to perfect it to what you have, what you know, and how you feel. So. It's definitely a lot to put in and take time for. So Definitely give props to him for that. I mean, 20 hours is a lot. It's more than I've ever put into a CIL race. I mean, I'll put in maximum 5 to 6. Maybe when I was a student racing, I would put in maybe 10, but that was like when I was kind of I had the time. But 20 hours is a lot, and like you said, he's in, and he's not just doing these. He's doing a bunch of other races. He is an exceptional driver, and I'm sure so are these others. I'm sure Jordan Johnson's right up there with him, the 20-hour mark, maybe even more. So all these drivers are really putting in a lot of time and a lot of effort to kind of race here tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, myself, racing on the oval side, I'll put in about as much practice as there is in the session. So I'll put in an hour and a half, maybe, if I'm lucky. But I think we have a very, very good field of drivers this year. I think in years past, we've seen some drivers kind of run away with it. But I think, we have Zachary DeWale, R. Muhammad Alif, Jordan Johnson, Nick Daly, Alexander Klink. A lot of those drivers are fighting for race wins. And it's not always, you don't know who's going to win each race. Sometimes you have incidents like we saw in race one where your contenders get taken out. And I think taking advantage of those opportunities for the drivers who aren't quite as quick is going to be a big deciding factor in the championship this year, and who can get the points when other people's fall from their leading positions and whatnot. So I think it's going to be exciting for the rest of the year, Christian. I think that's just about going to do it from us here at the CIL for the GT3 Challenge here tonight. Make sure to join us next week on Monday and Tuesday at 9 p.m. for the CIL Oval Series at Talladega. On Monday night, the Prospect Series will race, hoping to race their way into the show on Tuesday, which is the Premier Series. It's going to be a good one. Plate racing always brings some good action to the CIL, so that next gen kart, it's going to be a fantastic race, and be sure not to miss it. 2 weeks from now, we have the Formula C Series making their way to Lime Rock Park. It's going to be a fun race. It's going to be a tricky track for a lot of those drivers, and I am looking forward to commentating that race, and I hope everyone here is excited to watch it as well. If you're looking for more GT3 Challenge action, we'll be back in exactly 2 weeks' times on Tuesday. We're going to be heading over to, I believe it's the Circuit Barcelona Catalonia, if I'm not mistaken. Someone correct me on that. It is Barcelona. All right,
Yes.
so we're heading to that well-known F1 testing track. It's going to be a good race. I don't think the CIL has ever been there before, so I expect to see some good action. It's going to be a bit of a longer track compared to some of the other ones we've had in the season so far, so expect to see fewer laps, maybe a bit more chaos. But Christian, before we send out for the evening, anything you want to say?
No, I mean, yeah, this was a great race tonight. I'm very looking forward to Barcelona next following 2 weeks, as well as the Lime Rock. Lime Rock's going to be a good one. It's good, even harder track to pass than here. So definitely interested in seeing that. And then we have Talladega next week with our Oval Series, with our premiere and everything. So I hope to see you. Hope to see you guys there. I'll be producing that, and I hope we have as good as a race as we did last week at Texas. Texas was phenomenal. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So for myself, Matthew Nordberg, and Christian Hill at the CIL, we thank you for joining us tonight for the CIL production. We hope to see you again next week for the CIL Oval Series at Talladega.